You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Hannibal After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Hannibal After Show.
Oh, you shouldn't make fun of it.
Guys, you missed your calling.
I'm sorry. We should be at the end. Bing is for doing.
Oh, diaphragm of power.
That's the title of your new album?
Diaphragm of power.
Joe Flippo. Bing is for doing, and we are doing the final Hannibal AFTERBUZZ after show.
Nice. Sad.
I'm Joe Braswell, back from New York City. I missed 2 episodes. I miss you all. I miss you,
terribly.
especially all of you, especially you, Nando.
Oh, thank you.
Again, Flippo not so much, but you know.
All right, I've had time to get over it.
But we're here, and I'm joined, as always, by Nando Velasquez.
Yes, hello, everybody.
And by Julia Cearley.
Hello. Hi.
And by Joe Sanfellipo.
Hello, everyone.
And on the boards, the ones and twos, making it happen, Marissa Serafini.
Marissa
is up,
Safini, what's up?
What's up, guys?
Good. So we are here, folks. Hannibal. Wow. What a finale. What a season.
Hello, Dr. Lecter.
We've had quite the finale week here at AFTERBUZZ and here at the AFTERBUZZ Hannibal show. If you have been listening, and I hope you have, we have 3 podcasts that are going up this week. We did had a great conversation with EP creator Brian Fuller. Had a nice about an hour chat with him, which is really insightful and wonderful. And then we did another 45 minutes with Martha De La Rennis, who was also wonderful.
Amazing.
And also an EP.
And beautiful.
And beautiful.
And was
pretty
in
gorgeous.
studio, so
Yeah.
if you guys want to check it out on the YouTubes.
Check her out.
Yeah.
She's pretty hot.
Beautiful lady.
Just throwing it out there.
I'm throwing it right
Lady
back
to
at you.
lady. You're
beautiful,
pretty hot,
very
Martha.
witty, talented. I love the way
Yes.
she said my name.
We love, yeah.
Yeah.
Nando.
Nando.
So we have a lot going on here. We have Brian Fuller, we have Martha De La Rennis, and now we have us talking about the
We're kind of a
final.
letdown. It's kind
No,
of
after that it's like, and then it's just back to us.
Aw.
Wonk, wonk.
Nerdist calls it a hostful episode. Whenever they do
hostful,
it. A hostful.
that's right.
It's full of hosts.
yeah.
That's what it is. It's a
Hostful.
And we know what they're talking about? Probably not. No.
Yes. So we have a finale. We have a lot of information coming into this finale because we had 2 great conversations with the EPs and creators of the show. So we can get into their thoughts and our thoughts, and now we can expose them all, while we're here. But Savoureux. Savoureux?
I believe it's Savoureux.
Okay, we can continue.
Someone will correct us if we're wrong.
We continue our
always
13
do.
episode traditions of not pronouncing these correct.
Getting our French down.
Someone in the finale is our big chance to get one freaking time
I
right.
love it when they respond with like that. You guys are so stupid.
Maybe the internet's like, oh,
You Americans.
you guys.
Yes.
Savoureux.
Savoureux, according to the French English dictionary I looked up, it's not a course.
Okay.
It just means tasty or delicious.
Right.
So, which I think is a fitting title for the finale.
We forgot to ask Martha and Brian
We dropped the ball.
if they're going to continue this French cuisine motif in season 2.
Well, there's only so many. I would think there's only so many dishes or courses you
You're
can
not
really
familiar
bring
with
up.
French food, baby. It's
I
deep.
mean, we've already introduced a ton of courses
Well,
I had never even. I
They,
could never even
they got
imagine.
lots of ways to put cream on meat, man. They like to get heavy food.
Can you say that?
I just did.
Okay.
The crème on the
don't take it
It's
French.
not much better. It's not better when you say it that way.
It's heavy. All I'm saying
Okay.
is the food is heavy.
All right.
It's rich.
It's rich.
It's rich. I'll take that. All right. So here we are. Episode 13.
Oh, I just wanted to say it.
That's fine.
This guy.
So yeah, Will further descends into madness, lands himself in the pokey. We'll talk about that. Hannibal, the pokey. I can't say the pokey.
You can. You did. I just
Okay.
I had to laugh at it.
All right, that's jail in the small town I grew up in.
Yes,
Called
the
Los
I
Angeles.
was going to say the small town.
The small town of Los Angeles.
I heard of that place.
We call it
I've
the
heard of
Pokey.
it.
Yeah, and then and then we have we have Will, we have Hannibal being exposed, we have the fate of poor Abigail is revealed, or is it? It is.
I would
revealed.
say enjoyed in the final scene. Savored.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
So-
looking like it. I was holding out hope a little bit throughout that entire episode until that last scene.
Right. Well, then but they did the whole
Between
forensic,
doctors.
check of her. Well, actually, is it?
You think she's walking around without an ear?
Well,
That's what you're saying.
It could happen.
It could happen.
People do it all the time now.
There was a lot of discussion about Veal in that last scene and how it's so young and the whole thing and
Right.
that.
Well, okay. Well, let's jump into this somewhat because we have a lot to get to. Let's jump into somewhat linearly or chronologically here because I watched this episode almost twice actually, and it just happened. We were lucky enough to get a copy from Brian Fuller. I'm dropping names. We're lucky enough to get an advance copy from our good friend Brian Fuller.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show,
My new
Brian
bestie?
Fuller.
Is that the Brian Fuller you're talking about?
And so we were able to check
Bri?
this out. Yes, Bri.
Bri.
Our guy, Bri.
Okay, bye.
No, so we were to check it out. So we watched it a couple times, and yeah, there's a lot going on in this episode. One thing I did notice is, one thing Brian did comment on is how they do painstaking efforts to make these very cinematic, and how much time he takes in the set design and the production design, and also he mentioned the sound design. So I listened to the second time in headphones, and it was a whole nother world.
Yeah.
Like there's some real scary shit happening in the headphones. There's like all kinds of things happening. So props out to the sound design on Hannibal. If you guys ever want to listen to it, get a whole new perspective, throw some headphones on. That's just something I just did. I don't know. So we opened to Will out in the wilderness. He's hunting.
He's
right?
hunting a stag,
Hunting a stag.
which is symbolic. I'll get to it.
Okay, so there's blood, there's this and the other. He wakes up, he has dirt on his feet. He stumbles to the kitchen. This is what we're trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
He stumbles to the kitchen.
I know, guys.
We watched it a few times. I think we figured this out.
He coughs,
I
he
knew
coughs,
it
he
the
coughs.
first
He
time.
throws down some aspirin. He drinks, and then he barfs, and then there's an ear in the sink.
Oh, with an earring.
No, that was actually one of the pills.
That was one of the aspirins.
Oh.
Okay, so does he barf up the
There's
ear?
an entire page of stuff.
No, wait. So
I'm out.
We watched it several times. It is our belief on this side of the table.
All right.
Do I speak for both of us?
Yeah. Well, I was the first one to say it.
You
Just
were,
throwing that
and
out there.
and we had an argument because I did not think so. I said, no, he didn't puke up that ear. And then we watched it again. I said, holy shit, he puked up the
he's
ear.
sitting there with his head in the sink. He's drinking. He's looking in there, and then
It
he
didn't look like he was
stands up.
looking. It just looked like he was. I don't know if he was looking in there, but
The ear was not
But
there
they would
until he
have
puked.
made a moment of him
And-
seeing that.
And the aspirin is on the ear, which means
Slash
the aspirin
earring.
came up with the ear.
Sure.
Slashing ring.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
Earcast.
Yeah.
Let's do the whole podcast about the ear.
But I just
He
find
barked
that
up the ear.
that is amazing.
Wow.
That's an amazing trick. If he swallowed the ear, considering he did not kill her, it's an amazing trick to have him.
I
So-
imagine
so-
it was force fed to him.
Sure.
There's got to be a way to massage something down, but then at the same time, you want to make sure somebody pukes it. So how do you do that?
And
Yeah,
while he's
that's-
sleeping, or while he's in his blackout state, whatever that is.
Well, I'm
Well,
sure. Marissa, you've
well,
done
we-
this
we were
before.
No, so you know about it. You tell us.
Yeah.
How do you force feed someone in the ear?
I don't know
And then
about
make them puke it up.
forcing. About puking and vomiting, I think maybe Ipecac. I don't know.
Well, here's the other thing
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Okay,
Put a
don't
drug
mess
down.
with Marissa,
The
dude.
ear is unchewed. I mean, I'm guessing it'll be really tough to chew a ear to begin with.
It's not
But
digested.
also, it's not digested. Exactly. It looks completely normal. Like, I don't know how much time it would take for it to start showing signs of decomposition.
But it's obviously in his stomach. It's not like hanging out in his esophagus anywhere.
It's not
so
like he doesn't have an ear
it's
sticking
not
out of his
like,
throat
oh,
or
there's
something.
something
It's a
stuck in
pretty
my
big
throat.
thing.
This is one of those logistical discussions that's insane, but they have to have it for this show.
I wish.
So,
Get Brian Fuller on the horn.
so if you
Yeah.
Get him on the horn right
the
now.
cell phone, you know where it is. You got to imagine
The
that
bat phone.
he's shoving
Right,
the ear
right.
down his throat, massages it through,
Yeah.
and then forces Ipecac behind it, or maybe the Ipecac first, and then you get the hell out of the house because you got maybe 3 or 4 minutes before the guy wakes up and has to puke up an ear.
Well, it's not just that. He has to put the defensive wounds on her,
defensive
on
wounds.
him, and
Now-
also the
I would do that
mud
stuff
on it.
first.
Yeah. Well, that
would
would
you?
be-
Well, what
That's
we
how
were,
I would do it.
Where were you the night
what
of?
we were
No,
discussing
yeah.
earlier was that last time we left Will, he woke up on that plane coming back from Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's how we left him in episode 12, and he asks, was there a girl traveling with me?
Right.
So he didn't have any of the wounds. He didn't have the mud. He didn't have the
did he have
blood
dirty
underneath his
feet?
fingernails. He
Yeah.
didn't have any of that until he was tucked in.
I assume there will be a flashback in season 2. There has to be an
I'll have some explanation.
I hope so, because
Well,
I'm
we
really
need the payoff
curious.
on Abigail. I mean, I was really
Yeah.
invested with her.
Well, she's gonna come back with a thing on her
Yeah.
head.
Just a big steak.
Yeah.
It helps the swelling.
This is why this is how Will will be acquitted. Because Abigail's like, I'm alive.
Steak on her head. She's dead. You have to let this go.
Okay. All right. So
was served.
that happens. So then Will goes to visit Hannibal Lecter, his best friend.
Well, of course,
That-
when all else fails.
Who has his best interest at heart.
Yeah,
At all
Always.
times.
always.
At all times.
Doesn't he bring Hannibal to him? I think Hannibal.
Yeah, Hannibal comes to his
Hannibal
house.
comes to his
He has
house.
to see the
Okay.
ear.
In his big, beautiful Rolls Royce.
Yes. And they have a conversation, and then does Will turn himself in? Is that what
Yeah,
happens?
they
there?
discuss it, and then you have to turn yourself in, Will.
He says he has to.
Okay.
Have to.
So Will turns himself in.
For
He
the
gets
stuff I
the
did
full diagnosis. He gets the full rundown from Scott Thompson and Aaron Abrams and
Park.
yes.
Idea Park, yeah.
And how about the looks that he got from Scott Thompson and Aaron Abrams as they were walking in the house?
They're like,
It's like you're scornful.
Aaron Abrams, our boy, was
Oh,
like, I knew
finally.
it.
I knew it the whole
He's like,
time.
you mother effer, I knew it. But anyway, so we went through the whole thing with that interesting moment where she was like, I can't do this. Like, you have blood under your fingernails. Like, why do you have that? Which I thought was a really great
Well,
moment.
she tells him to interpret the evidence.
Yes.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
So, dude, do it.
So she's like believing in him still. It's always the women. They're poor. What's this? Well, Hugh Dancy.
It's Hugh Dancy. It's instant empathy face.
Yes, they're like, you can't possibly be a
poor
bad guy.
Will.
Poor Will.
Poor Will.
So let's talk about Will. I mean, so that that's where we find Will. Encephalitis in full effect, and he's doing his thing. Joe, like what do you got?
I think we could call this episode Will's symbolic journey to the truth because he gets there
In French or
in
is that a
French.
French-ish?
Will's symbolic journey to the truth.
Oh,
The truth. The truth.
okay.
A little German there at the
That
end.
was a little German and
Worst
French.
Yeah,
French
it's all
accent
It
I've
is.
ever
It's
heard.
terrible. Like there's a guy that
Calling
lives in
you
the
out,
Alps,
Flip.
and he does.
Go back to the Connery, please.
He's right in the middle.
I never thought to ask for the Connery.
No. They're never going to be any good. So we open with Will in the forest, and he's hunting the stag. And I think obviously, not obviously, but my belief is in retrospect, the stag is the truth. The stag is Hannibal, and he's hunting Hannibal. He's hunting this killer. And so he shoots the deer, and he wounds it, but he doesn't kill it. So we're on the trail, but we're not quite there. And then he gets up close to where the stag has stopped, and the stag is no longer a stag. It's a man with antlers. It's Hannibal with antlers. And then he looks again, and he's disappeared. So he's hunting. He's seeking
Stop.
this.
I'm sorry. It's Hannibal,
Yes.
Julia.
How do you know it's Hannibal? He's
I'm
wearing
sorry,
a
that-
stag on his
I
head.
said-
No, I just stopped you.
I
in your
said
story. You
this is-
dropped it like
I said this
it's
is
fact.
I said this is my
You're
belief.
like, so then there's Hannibal with head antlers. And then
This
we
is
give
my
him a-
belief.
It's his belief.
I believe that's Hannibal.
Okay, Nando.
I think there's a case for it.
Okay, go on. So
I think there's a
continue.
case for it.
Will you allow it?
I will allow it. Go ahead.
Thank
I'm
you,
sorry.
Your Honor.
All right.
Go. So anyway,
Judge Joe Brown.
Judge Joe Braswell.
Thank you.
All right, so Will is chasing down this stag, and I think that symbolism goes throughout the entire episode. And when he gets to the end, he sees, and in the end there, he sees Hannibal as the stag, doesn't he? In that last scene in the kitchen.
Okay.
Well,
At any rate, so I think that Will
in the version
Will's-
we had,
Will's encephalitis inflamed brain is bringing him to the truth where his rational mind won't go. It is taking him symbolically to where he needs to go.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming up to the truth of it, and I think this is the him finally really taking action in a lot of this stuff, because he's chased this stuff actively, but he hasn't been willing to look in certain places any more than Jack is willing to look in certain places because Hannibal's kind of clouded them so well.
that's what it was.
Yes.
So
get to it.
at any rate, I think that we have Will finally able to see what's really going on with Hannibal, and then at the end there we have that lovely reveal.
Okay, so
You know.
so let me recap this, because so what you're saying is the whole time in the whole series, there's been the motif of the stag.
Yes.
And it's the sort of elusive stag.
Yes.
They keep seeing over and over again.
But the stag is
seems to
sometimes
be-
walking behind him, is sometimes
Right.
prodding him, is sometimes drawing him, is sometimes leading him.
And this in your interpretation represents something that's going on in Will's subconscious, which is something that's just out of reach. We've all interpreted it as some variation of Hobbes, but what you're saying is this is probably really his subconscious telling him about. It's really Hannibal this whole time, because he somehow knows on some level that, you know, something's going on. Whoever this copycat killer is close to him. It's elusive, and whoever it is, and he not able, for whatever reason, not able to see that it's Hannibal until the very end. Through the encephalitis, through it all, he's like, I see clearly now. I see you. I can see you. I see who you are. And he quite literally broke down Hannibal's whole shit. Like, you did this, you did the copycat. You messed with my brain. You spun me around. And then wound me up and let me go. Oof. And you did all this crap, and he was spot on.
Oh,
you know,
exactly,
with the gun to his
exactly.
head. And Hannibal's like, maybe I did it. That sorry, you know. And then all that, and then in that last scene where after Jack shoots him, which was very cool, he does look up, and there's that shot of the POV from Will, and you see Jack, and you see what looks like a shadow and an antler. So
That's what I'm saying.
And you're saying that there he is. Hannibal's
what I'm
been the
saying.
antler all the time.
That's what you're saying.
He's been the stag the whole
So
time.
now so it's like, I can see you now.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That's brilliant.
And ironically,
that.
he goes down exactly the same way that Garrett Jacob Hobbs does, in the exact same spot. And in that second episode, when he killed, that was the second one, right? When he killed Garrett Jacob Hobbs?
First episode.
First
Yeah.
episode,
Pilot.
sorry. He, after he shoots him, he's looking at him, and Garrett Jacob Hobbs is alive, and he says something to the effect of, do you see, or see. He says something to Will that see.
Oh, yeah.
Guys.
Mind blown.
Booyah.
Wow.
Look at you.
Wow.
All symbolism aside, they are never going to sell that house.
that house is bulldoze that crap to the ground. It's not going to be sold. But okay, so all right. So did he really? But was that the same spot, that corner of the kitchen?
Yeah. Exact same spot.
Exact
Yeah.
same spot.
Same spot.
That's great.
Everything identical.
Yeah, great.
All right. Well, we've solved it. Podcast over.
Done.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Football, where can we find you?
I think what's interesting. I think what's interesting about the way they've dealt with Will this entire season is it's like they've surfed this perfect wave with him. Because and I said this in the interview earlier today. When you've got Hugh Dancy, who's got this immediately empathetic face, and you immediately care about him, and you want him to be good and well, and obviously they put him through hell. So you can surf that pity and that anger, and we all know that Hannibal's just playing with him and toying with him and curious what he's going to do, and well, let's try if we put him down this into the maze, and we'll see about that. And we all know about all that, but it gets tiresome at a certain point. And I think the way they strung it out with Hugh and with the storyline, with the whole thing, I think that we got to exactly the place where we were like, you know what, God damn it, I'm tired of watching this way.
Right.
And at that almost exactly moment, Will turns around and figures it out. And so, I mean, they surfed a perfect wave, and I just got to give kudos to them because I think they took that all the way to the end. That pity, the anger, the confusion, the loss, the realization, all it lined up perfectly. It's a perfect wave.
So, so speaking of that wave, getting through where we start with Will at the beginning of the season, and where we knew Will was with his poor encephalitis brain and the displaced clock and the whole 9 yards, and to where it was this weird, cool battle that Will was having with himself. Like, even with the effed up, swollen brain, he was still able to fight through that and still be Will and actually solve crimes and look at the evidence at the highest level and see Hannibal. But we see through all that, so in some level he prevailed. Like, Will won, but yet he's in jail. That's how it ends. It's kind of the cruel trick that this show played on us. But can we talk about, this is not a spoiler, can we talk about just that last sequence? We see Will, and who's in jail because he's a murderer, presumed, and Hannibal walking down the cell. Very familiar walk.
Seen it before, ladies and gentlemen.
Many times.
And he gets to Hannibal, and they look at each other, and he says, "Hello, Will."
And he says,
Hello, Dr.
"Hello,
Lecter."
Dr. Lecter."
Yes.
But
I
it's
like my
hello for
version
the
more.
very first. Yours was much better.
Mine was better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
hello for the very first time, and that was awesome.
And that was, I know who you are, you know who I am. Here we go.
All bullshit aside, then all the what do you say, the scales? Is that what you call them?
The scales, yeah.
The scales are gone.
Yeah.
I can see everything.
Ooh, I get little chills thinking about it.
Oh, yeah, that was very awesome. So okay, so let's Will. So is Will? Do they sort his brain out? Will?
I feel like they will, because they now that Alana knows that.
Well, Alana doesn't. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go on.
No, I was just saying, now that they figured out that it's encephalitis and it's treatable, that Alana's going to be all for curing him.
Yeah, because they did mention like his brain is swollen.
Yeah, the right side was
Oh,
swollen,
yeah.
and they're treating him with anti-inflammatories
Yeah.
and
So he's sort. He's
steroids.
going
And
to sort it
apparently
out.
it explains.
Yeah,
It
but
explains.
But he's still a murderer.
Yeah, and it does explain why, I guess, even though Dr. Was it Dr. Sutcliffe that was the one that was it was Dr. Sutcliffe that was the one that was helping Hannibal and keeping the encephalitis a secret even after Dr. Sutcliffe died. Now we know why Will still wasn't treated.
I'm glad they touched on that, because that was really frustrating to me. I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's
it's hard to find. It,
Yeah.
it doesn't always present.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But now they know what it is. Now they have an idea of what it is. What I was surprised at was when Alana saw the whole clock thing and she figured out that Hannibal was doing this before, that she didn't go. She still trusts Hannibal too much. I thought she would go on the attack and go, why didn't you tell us about this?
Yeah.
And he just said, oh, this is he had it all planned
Well,
out.
I
Here's a
think she
normal
was
Here's the
ready
clock that
for it.
Will
I
did,
think she
yeah.
was setting him up for it, but he so seamlessly was like, "Oh, you want to see the clock? There's the clock. There it is. Okay, perfect."
Yeah.
But every move we talk about this, Hannibal's like 5 steps ahead of everyone. He's got all the moves. He's on the chessboard. He's 5 steps ahead. He's smarter than everyone in this room and the 2 rooms over than him. So of course, nothing ever phases him. It's like, aha, Hannibal, I got you. He's like, oh no, it's just this. You're like, oh, sorry. Like every time. So it's not surprised. But what was sad, I had to laugh out loud and be so sad, is when poor Will drew the clock again. He drew the clock and he's like, it's just a plain old clock.
Nothing wrong with
Nothing
that.
wrong
Telling
with
time
this.
isn't my problem.
Telling time isn't my
Telling
problem.
time's not my problem. It's just my
Well-
blah, blah, blah clock. Like,
Blah, 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 blah.
it's a blah, blah, blah clock. Poor Will.
Oh,
Rough.
poor Will.
But then Alana says, look, telling time's the least of your problems, pal. And boy, was she right.
She was great in this episode,
really
by the
was.
way.
Oh,
She
she's
rocked
amazing.
this
Stepped it up.
episode.
Yeah,
She
she's
really
amazing.
did.
She stepped it up like a maniac.
I really had this moment of really believing she was going to figure it out.
Right.
But then I was worried for her. I thought she'd be doomed if she did. But she was so close.
Right. Well, I wonder, what's sad to me is, because we know the events of Red Dragon and we know the events of Sounds of the Lambs and Hannibal, is Alana Bloom.
Yeah.
She's not around.
She's
Well,
not.
no, there's an Alan Bloom.
Oh. Is there? I don't know.
All right,
You
well,
look
let's
that up.
figure
We'll move on.
I liked
So-
the way she wigged out in the car very, very much. I
That was
thought that was her
beautiful.
a complete loss of composure.
Yeah.
And we talked for a long time about how all the psychiatrists, when she was in particular, well, Will, I'm thinking about having a relationship with you, but I'm just not sure if you're ready for it or if you're stable enough. And and then that wig out in the car was phenomenal. I
Great
loved it.
act. Well, let's talk about them. Before we do, I want to thank you all once again for joining us on iTunes. Thank you very much. I mean, we've been it's been 13 episodes. You guys have really supported us with lots of fantastic reviews. Mostly like I would say 90% positive, which is great. We appreciate all the ratings. Well, actually 100% positive,
I
right?
think- well, let me
there was
see.
one that like give us more episodes when we were behind.
Well, yeah, and they didn't fix that, but that
wasn't
wasn't
too.
really our. I mean, it was our fault because we didn't start right away.
Yeah,
but-
yeah. So, but you guys have been very supportive and very great, and we thank you very much for asking us to do this show when we're doing other shows. So, following Bates Motel, you asked us to do this show, and you were right, and we're so very happy we're doing it. And please continue to. What
By
you
the
got?
way, I was gonna say you and Sanfellipo get all the love on these things. We read all your comments. You guys get a lot of love. People were missing you the past 2 weeks.
Oh.
They
They
were
were
writing
missing
reviews,
you.
5 stars, but where's Braz?
Oh,
Yeah.
And then
They did
Flippo,
miss you.
they loved you. I don't know if you took your shirt off that week. I don't
Yeah.
know if your mom's
Yeah,
on
thank
you.
iTunes.
No,
People just talking about it.
it's a great way to make a friend is to
Right.
go ahead and take off your shirt when
Yeah.
you're
Right.
pale as all hell and then you're covered in hair. It's a wonderful
Right.
way to make people extraordinarily feel they feel good about themselves, and so there's a gratitude.
Julia and I are just window dressing here. It's just it's
Oh,
all for
knock it
Adam and
off!
Jeff.
I get in trouble is
They
what I
love
get.
all of us equally.
I get in trouble. I get the British accent scandal. Is what I get.
We'll get to it. We're going to get to the British accent scandal.
Clear that up.
Yes. Hashtag that.
But thank you very much for joining it, for rating us, and please continue to do so. Joe, we say it for one last time.
We love fives.
There it is. Thank you very much.
Let us know what show we want to do next.
Yes, and well, you know, we may have some. We have some ideas for the summer, so we'll be back in a different capacity, and we'll be doing some more cool Hannibal things. And there may actually, I'll just say it on the podcast because he said it to us. Brian said he may want to come back and do a post-mortem, if you will.
We're thinking
Brad's coming back.
We're thinking of some ideas for some post-Hannibal season 1 podcast, not just one, maybe some other ones.
Yeah, we may talk about.
I'm not ready to let Hannibal go.
Yeah.
We may do the movies with Martha. We may.
Let's keep doing the episode we're on.
I'm sorry.
Let's go.
Just pointing ahead. I do have to quote something real fast.
Yes.
Do it.
Gentlemen.
Thank you, iTunes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, iTunes. From Red Dragon, the book itself. Quote, Graham liked Dr. Alan Bloom, a small, round man with sad eyes, a good forensic psychiatrist, maybe the best. Graham appreciated the fact that Dr. Bloom had never displayed professional interest in him. That was not always the case with psychiatrists.
So you're saying Alana gets a sex change between now and season?
That's poor casting.
And she shrinks.
As does Fred Lowndes.
Yes.
Okay.
They're both women now.
Anyways, just throwing it out there. Julia was right.
Very good. Very good choice for making them both attractive women, by the way.
Yes, I'd like to applaud you guys in the cast.
So Alana Bloom is around. So let's get to Alana and Jack. So Jack is hot on the case, right? Or is he not? Like, I feel like Jack has been dancing around this whole thing the whole time, just like Will, but in his own way. Like, Jack is sniffing around this whole thing, whether it's Abigail or it's something, or it's a thing. It's this horrible thing. It's an itch you can't scratch. Like, I know something's not right. All my 25 years of experience tells me that this shit is wrong. Abigail, what is it? He can't quite do it. And even when presented with the fact that it could be Will, or Will's the guy, and all the evidence points to Will, and he says, well, this is what it is. You can see the way he plays it. It's like it doesn't add up to him.
Well, it's all because of Hannibal, of course, because he trusts. Again, he said this a couple episodes ago. He has his doubts on Will, but he has no doubts on Hannibal.
Right.
So, just another case where Hannibal's like, I want to take care of Will. I want to make sure Will's okay. Jack is trusting him. So, I mean, and I think when he's with Alana, and Alana's first talking to Jack, and she's practically blaming everything on Jack, I think, that's his conscience right there that he should be listening to, is Alana. But he still has faith in Hannibal. And
Well,
that's what it
he
comes down
even
to.
said in that same argument between the two of them, when she said, you saw he was breaking, he says to her, so did you. Every decision I made under advisement of Hannibal Lecter, who you recommended.
Yeah,
absolutely.
She was pissed.
So he throws it back on her.
Pissed.
Did you guys feel?
That's your boy, Hannibal.
Did you guys feel? Let me ask you a question. Do you guys feel that Jack meant that, or do you feel that Jack was just simply covering his ass, or that was a little bit of a get out of jail free card? Do you think that Jack really felt like Hannibal had given the okay for him to push Will as hard as he could, or do you think Jack is covering up his guilt?
I don't see Jack as a CYOA guy. Cover your own ass, is that right? I don't see him.
CYA, yeah.
CYA. I threw an O in there. But I don't see him as Jack's pretty straightforward. I think Jack's kind of a no-nonsense guy. So I don't see him as a guy who's going to be like, He's not a guy who stays up late worrying about his conscience.
I don't think he would have saved Hannibal at the end if he really didn't feel that way.
Oh, that's not what I meant. I mean, do you think that Jack really feels that that the whole responsibility for breaking Will, if you accept the idea that Will's been broken, lies with Alana and Hannibal and not on him?
No, because in that scene, in that last scene, which is brilliant. And by the way, Lawrence Fishburne did a great job in this episode too.
He's an okay actor, that Lawrence Fishburne.
He's all right.
I think we might see some neat stuff from him.
He's got a future. This kid Fishburne. But
this kid.
Yeah, no, he great job. But yeah, in that scene in that beautifully framed scene where Hannibal on one side and Jack on the other and Will in the middle in the bed, where he says, I've never seen anyone broken like this. I've never seen that. And to me, like that's where it felt like there's some culpability and responsibility there. Like there's some sort of knowing, like how did this happen? How did this happen on my watch? Like that's kind of what I felt from that situation. I don't know. I really think Jack does believe that it's not like these guys effed up. I think he feels part of it.
I don't know, man. I think he's been fed some nonsense by Hannibal. I mean, Will is not your victim. He's not my victim either. That particular scene, I mean, the absolute inverse is true. Will is absolutely Hannibal's victim, and he's absolutely Jack's victim.
But this is the whole thing. This is the point I'm making. It's like Hannibal is feeding no pun intended, is feeding Jack a bunch of bullshit.
No pun required, because he is feeding Jack.
He's feeding Jack a bunch of BS.
Jack's eating some
and
victims.
he's also he's been playing with Will. He's been playing with Jack. But both these guys are super smart. They know something is off. They instinctively and subconsciously know something's wrong. And even though they're both Hannibal's pal and trusting the guy, well, Will is not anymore. But like, they know something's off. And I feel like Jack knows too. It's just,
but Jack is a guy whose job is to follow the evidence, and the evidence is blatant.
Well, which is the difference between Will and Jack, right? Because Will does this. Jack is like, I've got the evidence, I've got the instincts, I got the police work. I'm this guy. Will is doing some sort of like, fancy, weird, pendulum thing he's doing. I threw it in there. I did. It's all right.
First time won't be the last time.
MTA, that was for you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I got nothing.
All right.
I do want to say, I do want to go back briefly, ever so briefly, to the symbolism of the stag. I went back and looked at those scenes again. I am 100% correct. Y'all can kiss my ass if you don't agree.
Oh.
That stag is in the beginning, and that stag does appear as Hannibal in that scene, in that last scene in the kitchen.
Right.
That symbolism is absolutely correct.
Okay, but is that stag the beginning Hannibal?
That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm asking you.
Yes.
But it's a guy.
It's a guy, I think. But if we can see the guy in the beginning and then the guy in the end,
does he have a triple Windsor?
He's dressed in a stag suit with a triple Windsor. Okay. Absolutely. How else would we know it was Hannibal?
All right. Fair enough. Okay, so Jack's on the case. He plays this thing throughout the whole thing. Like, does Jack have? I mean, what do we feel about? I'm on this thing, like, I don't think Jack is completely satisfied with this. Do you think that Jack is believing that Will is actually the guy? Is it case closed for Jack, or is he really kind of like still...
I think he's still wrestling with it. I think it's obvious he's still wrestling with it. He's a no nonsense guy, like you said. If he knew absolutely for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, he would have locked him up. That would have been the end of the story. But he cares. I mean, this is his friend, and like Alana said, he is somewhat guilty for some of this. Sure. Even though he is basing this off of Hannibal and Alana, he is guilty for some of this. And he still has the guilt of Miriam behind him too. He still has the guilt of past people he's worked with. So I think he will do what he can to save Will. And I think a huge part of season 2 is going to really have to be on Jack's forgiveness, for lack of a better word, or ability to still consider Will.
Well, sure. Well, I've got my prediction for season 2. I've got locked and loaded.
Okay, well, we'll save that one. But, but yeah, that's the way I feel about Jack. I mean, obviously he's wrestling with his own demons too, and it's really interesting to see after he puts down Will, to see Hannibal and Jack bonding a little bit, and still having a normal conversation. And it's like, you kind of want to scream at him and go, "Come on, he already took one of you guys down. Technically, what's he going to do to you now?" So. There's still a lot to play with there.
I'm upset that there wasn't a time where Jack took pause just to hear Will out for a second. He obviously dragged Hannibal there by gunpoint, so he says.
Right.
Like he had a reason for these. Just take a step back for a minute, Jack, and just hear him out.
That's not Jack out.
Give him a moment.
A bit of that is like irrefutable evidence. Like when faced with irrefutable evidence, Jack has a hard time. Like, I want to hear you, Will. But I can't. I got all the evidence.
So should we all be operating under the idea that Hannibal has laid the groundwork so clearly that there is no chance that Will's going to have an alibi for one of these murders? Right? We're going to assume that Hannibal's got this locked up that tight?
Yeah.
Okay, so the only way...
Dr. Lecter. He doesn't make mistakes.
So then the only way that Will's going to get out of this is when he proves Dr. Lecter did it.
Well,
or if they present a new killer.
Exactly. They've got his key to this is Dr. Lecter. Dr. Lecter has to somehow let him off the hook. And that I don't find that out of the realm, because Dr. Lecter may want to play with him more. But Dr. Lecter has to say, "Will, I found some evidence that is, that helps you out. This means the real killer's out there."
But with all that evidence against him, I mean, the fishing lures
it's brought me back to that episode when he was feeding the dogs and he's sitting there playing with Will's lures.
I mean, how do you
think about that at the
how
time?
do you find another a red herring to get the case off of Will at this point with so much evidence stacked against him?
Her name is Abigail Hobbs.
She
comes back with one ear.
She was delicious.
And then when she comes back alive, or when they find her body, or whenever it is,
They're not gonna find her body. He smoked her over hay.
Oh,
He enjoyed her at the inn with Gillian Anderson. They had a lovely time.
Even if she is found alive, there's still the question mark of all those other fishing lures that have all the other victims all together.
I don't know.
So there still is. It's a large case. There's gonna have to be something major that comes up.
Yeah. Well, let's get into Hannibal himself. Let's get into the man. You know, let's because he, Brian Fuller talked about how Mad's approach to Hannibal is to say, I'm going to play him as the devil. I'm not, my approach isn't, it's not the super, genius. It's not the super crazy serial killer. I think Brian Cox had one approach, and Anthony Hopkins had a classic approach, which is the approach. But what Mads has done is create this character, which is the sort of smiling, all-knowing, like, he's the devil. And I saw that so clearly today. Like I said, it really, like, the whole season I'm watching, the first 3 or 4 episodes were kind of like, oh, we never saw him kill anyone. We never saw him do anything bad. It's like, oh, he's maybe evil. By the middle episodes, okay, we knew he's evil. But by this one, I'm like, this guy is a freaking devil. And I don't know, like, so I can't believe that this is checkmate for Hannibal, because this is the master plan he's laid out all season. Is to, he's done the lure. We saw him in the apartment with the lures in like episode 5 or whatever that was. We saw him lay everything out perfectly. He's got all his tracks covered. Will is in jail. Checkmate. But he says no friends. So what's going to happen to this guy?
Well, one of the things that we got we got out of Brian too, a little more insight in the character, like you said. Curiosity is the thing. Like, he just wanted to see what happened, like that, and that came out.
Will said it. He's wound me up.
He's wound me up and let me go.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like you said a few minutes ago, I just wonder if he's done playing with Will. Will's a really good plaything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Will's like the best.
Well, he's got a one of a kind.
Yeah.
He's not like he's gonna run out and find another Will. Like, those guys in jail, let me go find another one of these guys.
That guy doesn't grow on trees, man. To mess with a guy like that's a lot of fun. I don't think Hannibal's necessarily done toying with him yet.
Oh no, you saw that smile at the end. He's not
No,
done.
there's a lot of fun to be had.
Oh,
Well,
not
he came to
even
visit
close.
him. He came to visit him, so
Absolutely.
it's like, I don't know. So so I don't know. Hannibal, Dr. Lester.
Hannibal, and his I don't know if that was his first scene, but he was
Something.
Was he crying?
He did cry about Abigail.
He was crying.
He was crying, and I think that was real.
Wait, when?
When the first time we see him talking to Belinda de Maurier.
No.
And he's saying that he knows what life means, and he talked about never really thought about having a child before.
Yeah, I think that's all real. Well, these are things that, again, Brian Fuller touched on these things. Again, we talk about how, Thomas Harris says that Hannibal Lecter is
Uncategorizable. Can't be categorized. Categorizable?
Categorized.
Character. Anyway,
Categorized.
Uncategorizable.
That's not it.
Did I not say it right?
It can't be. It can't possibly be right.
I think so.
Anyway, you can't categorize him as a serial killer because he's not. He doesn't fit in any of these stereotypes. He's not a sociopath. He's not a psychopath. He's not any of these things, which makes him extremely hard to profile and extremely hard to diagnose as a killer, which makes him impossible to catch, which is what Will said at the end, and which was your point at dinner, Julia, when you said, the only reason he was able to finally see Hannibal as Hannibal is because he saw the motive. Like, it took him.
Well, he said there was no traceable motive, which is why I couldn't see you.
Right.
There's nothing to empathize with.
Right.
There's nothing to connect with.
Because you're just
because
fucking with
you're
us.
just you said it.
Yeah.
It's based off of curiosity. It's
Right.
not based off of anything emotional. There's no traceable motive.
Right.
And one of the other things Brian Fuller said is that he was not interested in doing an episodic that was a procedural based on actual crimes, because he said that's boring to me. He wanted to make something that was heightened, and the characters were heightened, and to do that with Hannibal especially, he's a work of fiction. He does not exist. There is no one to compare him to. There's no one real that is a template for him, because he is this uncategorizable. He's not a psychopath. He has empathy. He's not a sociopath. He's not. You can't fit him in a little box, which makes him so interesting. And that's why Brian seemed to be able to commit so much energy to it, because he wasn't just remaking somebody else's crimes. He's making all new, heightened, wild shit.
Yeah.
He seems to oftentimes come from a very scientific place. I mean, it seemed for a long time, or not for a long time, but for some time during this episode that it was like the ultimate therapy session leading Will to discover himself. It was kind of like he was helping him.
Yeah.
He was guiding him.
Yeah.
That's what he said, right?
Well, that's what Brian said, and that's what Hannibal's thing is. Like, his whole thing is this is, and Hannibal said that 1,000 times. I'm helping Will.
Gave it to him. He said, you catch these killers by getting into their heads, but you also let them into your own.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in there. Nobody's in his head like Hannibal is. He said, I'm trying to help you. And then he walks them through each murder. He takes them to Minnesota, and he like works it through with him. He gives it to him.
Right.
I loved when we had Martha on saying psychic driving, because it's so much psychic driving.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Brian Fuller said radical treatment, right? It was radical treatment for Will. Like
Right.
to let Will let the psychopath inside him out.
Right.
And I think that was what Hannibal was alluding to in their scene together. Like let that out.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
Cultivate
I
it.
wonder-
like,
Right.
what would you have been had you cultivated
had
this,
they
accepted
yeah.
this? Like,
Yes.
Ooh.
Well,
wanna
We
know.
are brothers.
well, what's interesting is we see, this is all pre-Red Dragon, but we see Will Graham in this season as a guy who has this pendulum ability, and he has this ability to see and empathize with these serial killers. And then there's a guy who we see at the last 4 episodes who's going through this horrible trauma, like brain swelling encephalitis trauma, where his whole world is rocked. And then we know he's going to come out as, we don't know how, but we know he's going to come out as. I wonder what effect that this episode has on Will Graham as a profiler. It'd be interesting to see this sort of pre-encephalitis Will Graham versus how he approaches things now afterwards, because Hannibal did help him. Hannibal did help him get in the deepest, darkest parts of his mind. With a little help from some brain swelling, but and now it may make him a better cop. It may make him a better profiler.
I love a little help from a little brain spelling.
Be-
I did like
difficult
when
in prisons.
Will 2.0.
when Will showed up in his office, and they were having their little confrontation, and Will
in the
states,
shelves. Where was he? That was weird.
I think he was just up on the balcony, just sort of hanging out. I don't know exactly.
He was so.
I've been here for
Scrunched up.
7 hours. It's getting weird.
Oh, he had to wait for Hannibal. Hello, Will. He didn't look up.
You can smell it.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That crazy sense of smell. But Will says, argumentatively, he says, "I know who I am," and Hannibal is so quick to say no.
Yeah.
Meaning sort of, no, buddy. I know who you are. I've sort of made you who you are. We're going to get to it. And that's where the therapy session really begins, to me at least.
Right. Well, we'll see how this works out. And speaking of therapy sessions, I want to, get to the before the last scene, the last time we talked about seeing those guys in jail. We see a final scene between Hannibal and the lovely, gorgeous Dr. De
Maurier.
So I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I don't know what the heck was going on in this scene.
Something was going on. I'm gonna throw my pen. Something was going on in this
he
scene.
means
I don't
it.
know. Okay, so let's just dissect. He comes to the door with veal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With white veal. I've
So
never
wait.
served white. I've seen.
But
I've-
it's
I've-
her house,
Is
right?
veal white? Did I miss a
Yes.
meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Veal is white traditionally.
Okay.
No.
I
Depends
thought
what
veal.
cut.
White meat.
All right.
I don't think veal is white meat, but I've been wrong before. Go on.
Listen. It's her house.
Perhaps if it feels
So he
salty.
shows up with the thing of veal. That's a pretty pimp move, by the way.
Well, he says that she'll never accept.
She'll never come to his house.
Yeah, she'll never come to his dinner table. She'll never accept an invitation to his dinner table. He has to bring it to her.
Okay. And so
Smooth move.
So it's the veal, and so
HL.
the veal is Abigail. People say
Very light gray, much like pork. My bad.
yes.
Yes, veal should be a very light gray, much like pork. So my
Right.
bad. I thought she knew more than she did.
I'm sure they had it right on the
No,
show.
no. I was just it would only inform,
I'm gonna go with Jose Andres and,
Yeah.
and
It
Brian
would
Fuller.
only inform whether or not Demore. It would only inform
And
whether or
now
not
it's time for
Demore-
Joe Sanfellipo's cooking segment on
It
Hannibal.
would, it would only serve to inform whether or not Demore knew if veal was a different color and she was going along with the veal but knew it wasn't veal. Then that would have she would
I'll
have been
tell you.
more into.
I'll tell you what. It's not white. Your face. It's all red from that. No, I'm just kidding.
A lot of hostility coming from Nando. I didn't do anything to you. I show you nothing but love.
So she serves the veal. So answer the question for me: is the veal Abigail?
Yes. Unequivocal yes.
Okay, an emphatic yes.
Unequivocal,
With a pen down.
emphatical throwing the pen yes.
With a
Jules,
pen down.
take it easy with the pen, by the way. Jules. Okay.
This is getting dangerous over here, guys. Gonna lose an eye.
Jules. Is it Abigail?
Is it Abigail? They allude to it. They certainly allude to it.
He was
saying
certainly happy to see her eat it.
Controversial meat.
Yeah.
Saying that, giving the whole description of veal, how people are always put off by the young age in which the lambs are slaughtered.
Which is Abigail. Abigail's young.
And he defends it by
and
saying,
then says, but they're often older than pigs are when they're brought to slaughter.
It's a big deal.
So she's older than a pig. That's what she's saying.
Okay.
That's what she's saying.
She's older than a pig.
She's older than a
That's
pig.
the
But she's
takeaway.
still young. She's a young little lamb.
Yeah.
She's a young little lamb.
So you're saying it's her?
I'm saying 86% it's her.
God, get off the fence.
I'm clearly
So
over
you're-
the fence.
I say
like,
You're 14% hedging. All right, fine. 14% hedger. Nando.
There's no ear in there, so I'd say it's her.
All right. I'm
no
not
ear.
I don't know. I do know he was very happy to see her eat.
How are we even having this discussion?
I know you. I know Filippo. You heard that, but he was
You know
very,
what Brian Fuller said in an interview? He said that
Throwing the pen.
if it does not have an actual animal bone that you recognize attached to it, it's a person.
Okay.
He said if it's a chicken, if it's obviously a chicken leg with a chicken bone in it, it's a piece of chicken.
Right.
But if you don't see actual bone attached to it, it's people.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
Okay.
It's
then,
made out of people.
I'm up to
Right.
92%.
Okay. I don't know.
Going to give me 6%.
I want to see Abigail in season 2 come in with a patch in her ear. I can't. That's what I'm waiting for. That's the show I'd write when Brian Fuller hires me to be his head writer. First order of business. Abigail enters interior jail cell. Abigail enters with a patch on her ear.
It's so sad. I'm gonna see you walk into that studio. 20 minutes later, walks right back out. What happened, Joe?
My God.
Ear stuffed in. Brian Fuller's a monkey. I don't know what's going on.
Fuller's an a-hole. He fired me. All right, so okay, I don't know if
Did anyone else think that Dr. D was going to die in that episode too?
Yes, so
I had a
Dr.
moment,
D.
yeah.
Okay, so second question.
I
I'm sorry,
didn't.
I got off track here. So there's a moment there where Dr. D, it eludes that like they're onto you, Hannibal. Like, does she know what is? Are we just reading into that? Does she know something?
Well, she obviously knows something.
But does she know that Hannibal's Hannibal?
I don't know.
No one knows nothing.
I mean,
I think she knows that you know what, here it is. I think that she is humoring Hannibal. She knows enough about him. She knows there's some dark secrets. She might not have all the specifics down, but she's an expert mind. I'm sure she could figure things out.
Right.
And she also possibly feels that he's dangerous, and this goes back to why he's her only client, and she told him she wasn't going to practice anymore, and yet he insisted on meeting with her, and she allows it.
Right.
okay, what she says is you develop relationships with patients prone to violence. So I started to think of the patients that we've seen of his, and none of them have been. We haven't seen many. We saw Will, who hasn't been violent until now, and we saw good old Franklin. He was sweet. He was adorable.
And don't forget also the client that he recommended to her.
That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah,
So
okay.
he recommended a client to her, referred a client to her, and that's the client that attacked her, and that's the client that died by swallowing his tongue, which is what Hannibal we learn in Silence of the Lambs. It's something that he does.
Yeah, but what?
So wait,
So
the
she
question
knows.
is,
The F
then
is up-
is the pattern him making them violent? Is that the pattern? Is that when they go to treatment with Hannibal, he eventually creates madness in them? Is that the pattern?
Well,
Because she
I don't
says
know.
we see there. You keep selecting. She says you keep choosing patients or seeing patients that have violent tendencies. But I think that if we can take Will for an example, we didn't see any in the beginning. He developed them during his treatment with Hannibal, if they exist at all. And then the other one, what was that? Was the big dude's name with the beard? Tobias's buddy, Franklin. Franklin wasn't violent. He was
But he died.
needy, but he died. But we haven't seen very many other patients.
And this other patient who attacked her.
Okay,
That's
so
it.
wait. So let me ask you. What's that scene in Silence of the Lambs where
Miggs swallows his tongue.
any whispers in? Does he whisper in someone's ear? Does that happen?
Yeah, through the wall. He gets him to swallow his tongue.
Right. Okay. So, right. What happened? Like the dude attacks her. And he attacks her, and then dude swallows his tongue.
I'm willing to bet
she tells that to Jack, and Jack's like, "Oh yeah, it happens."
Yeah, Jack's like, yeah, all right.
Oh,
move on.
the old tongue swallowing.
See it all the time.
Like, how does no one ask any questions?
If we were that prone to swallow our tongues, it is a miracle we're in charge of this planet. I don't know how we.
Interesting.
If
All
any
right.
one of us at any time could just swallow a tongue,
Yeah.
Well, we know Gillian Anderson is on a new series. Has
British series.
Yeah, she's got something
Because
picked
she
up.
lives in Britain.
All right, we'll get to
and
that.
she works in Britain.
But but we'll hope to see her next season as well. As we didn't ask that either.
I'm sure she'll have a recurring role. She'll be in
I'm
for a little bit
sure.
here and there.
She's invested in this.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
in
she
it.
is.
And
Yeah.
she's
But I
gorgeous while
would
she
say
does
I
it.
don't think
God,
she's
she's
not in the
gorgeous.
books, right? She's not in any of the books or in the movies.
No, I don't.
So I would suspect that she would eventually see an untimely death. That would be my suspicion.
Okay, I'll take
Yeah.
that. Well, let's transition out of here into some news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Julia, you have some news about your. Did you want to talk about your British thingy?
let's talk
Oh.
about British controversy.
Okay. British accent scandal. Hashtag British accent scandal. I understand that Gillian Anderson lives in the UK and often works in the UK. But she's not British. And I bring this up because I made the one comment that she has an English accent in one scene.
To which I agreed.
And the internet
Hugh-
didn't like that.
Internet did not like that.
No.
But I'm just saying, Hugh Dancy, born and raised in England, and he has no trace of an accent.
Right.
in this
Eddie
entire
Izzard.
show. Not a trace
Not a
of an
trace.
English accent in this.
But according
Just
to Joe
one scene.
Flippo,
I'm sorry.
the British actors
I do think that a British
They don't do much work.
Cadence it lends to
With
an
that
interesting
character.
sound when they don't have their accents. But that speaks to what we were talking about. She had a bizarre little
She
mid-Atlantic
had-
thing going
just in that one
Yeah.
scene. I'm sorry I brought it up.
It's not her first scene on this show, but yeah, it did stand up extra.
Thank you.
It was a little extra
Thank you.
Britishy. That
Okay.
one.
But
thing.
I love you, Gillian Anderson, all the same, and I think
You
you,
know
are
what?
phenomenal on the show
sometimes I
and
talk.
everything you do.
Sometimes I talk and I get a little extra New Yorkie. So you know, it happens. Maybe you know,
Okay.
maybe
I
she
just had to clear my name,
we
guys.
have to see her background, for her the breakdown for her character.
I
Maybe
had to
maybe has
clear
some
my
history.
name.
Maybe her character spent some time with Madonna in England,
true.
Yes.
and they developed.
Exactly.
Their own new
She
accent.
was tweeting Madonna, and that's how.
That is very funny. And speaking of funny,
Sorry, guys.
speaking of funny, we there's something funny that we our owners here, our founders here at AfterBuzz have produced called The Adventures of Serial Buddies.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yes,
yeah.
that's exciting, and it's very funny. It's our pact. Maria Menounos, who is one of our founders here, she is in it. Kevin Nagaro, who's another one of our people. Phil Cetek, they both produced and they've worked on it. We
Yep.
have a lot of other AfterBuzz people. Beth Beers from Two Broke Girls, Artie
Yep.
Lang, Chris McDonald, Christopher
stop.
Lloyd.
Stop right there.
Henry.
I saw that Chris McDonald on Broadway.
Oh, you did see that Chris McDonald on Broadway?
Yeah.
And did you like him?
He was awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's a great actor.
Saw him in a Lucky Guy. Tom Hanks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's
so
all.
there you go. There's
I'm just dropping.
so
some stuff.
amongst all of his major other accomplishments, including Lucky Man, on a talented Broadway actor, he's also in Adventures of Serial Buddies.
Yes.
Henry Winkler, narrator, a bunch of other people, and it's really cheap. You can get it on iTunes for like $4.95 if you want to rent it. You can get it for $1 more, so you can buy it and watch it over and over again. A bunch of us here have seen it. We love it.
Yep.
Go buy it. It supports AfterBuzz as
And
well.
it helps us out a lot. It supports us here. We can continue to give us this wonderful content
Yeah.
that we do.
And if you don't like iTunes, I think if you go on serialbuddies.com, you can also find ways to get it as well.
Sure.
So there you go.
All right.
Okay.
And then the other just last news and gossip we have is we mentioned it earlier, but I just want to mention it again that we did 2 other podcasts this week for our finale week. We've given you 3 hours of quality Hannibal entertainment. As we mentioned earlier, we have a full podcast with Brian Fuller and a full podcast with Martha De Laurentiis. So please download those on iTunes. Check those out.
Those
check
are
them out.
awesome.
If you subscribe, you should be getting them anyway.
Yeah,
so just give them a
subscribe to get
listen.
them anyway. If not, you can check them out on YouTube or AfterBuzzTV.com.
Especially Martha's on YouTube because you have to see what she looks like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We like it. So let's jump into sadly predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz
Going first.
TV.
I'll go.
No, I'm going first.
I'm gonna throw this pen. That's it.
I'm going first for the first time all friggin'
He
season.
never does.
I never go first.
Go, Joe. Go.
I predict
I don't care.
season 4 Red Dragon.
He's so good.
I got it.
Like Nostradamus.
No, what I do, I like the notion. We see being set up here is the reverse of Silence of the Lambs. I think we may see, if not an entire season, but half of the season of Will in jail. And once he's cleared of once he's deemed sane, he will have to be the expert, as Hannibal Lecter has been the expert in Red Dragon and in Silence of the Lambs, the expert that Jack has to go to in prison who knows about serial killers. So the roles were reversed. So Will will be able to work his pendulum magic from the jail cell. Maybe they'll let him out. Yes. Or maybe he'll be incarcerated, or maybe he'll be under Dr. Lecter's care or some weird thing. But like, he's going to be in jail for a long time, and I think he'll have to clear his own name somehow in the middle of the season, some kind of way. And I think that's what I got.
Got it.
Now, Joe Flippo, go.
Is my turn?
Yes.
All right.
I don't care.
All right.
There you go.
Here's what I think. I think Hannibal is going to. Hannibal's going to change his method of killing. I think he's going to move away from the Chesapeake Ripper, because that's going to be pretty obvious. If Will is the Chesapeake Ripper, he can't keep doing it that way.
Oh, good point.
So Hannibal's going to have to change his method of killing, and then I think he's going to present a new killer to Jack, so that he can continue to play with Will. That's what I think. I think he's going to present a new killer somehow or another to Jack.
Oh, I like that too.
So that he can keep effing with Will.
Good one.
That's what I got.
I think season 2, we're going to see a lot more of Dr. Chilton, who will be recovered from his horrible surgery.
Ooh,
So
unfortunate stuff.
he's coming back with a vengeance. But I think he's going to be a new one getting into Will's head. I don't know if it'll be through drugs, through some sort of therapy, but I think now that Will has acknowledged who
Psychic driving.
Lecter is, I think he's gonna fuzz that all up in his head somehow. He's gonna screw him that way.
All right.
Well, my prediction was going to be pretty much like yours. A role reversal with Will in jail, and him being the person that Hannibal or Jack keeps going to in the first half of the season to get input from. Maybe they'll bring some evidence and have Will try and wig out, from his jail
The first
cell.
piece of evidence they'll bring in is my girl Abigail with her ear bandage.
Maybe they will. Maybe they
She
will. I
was
will.
He's gonna
Delicious.
bust Will out.
I will say that. I'm looking forward to season 2, but I gotta say, for season 1, this was a really. I wouldn't say this is a cliffhanger. It just almost feels like a really well-told short story and an ending for a short story.
Sure.
I'm really curious to see how Will get out of prison. How it seems like he knows Hannibal's secret, and Hannibal's really playing close to the edge right now of being found out. I'm really curious to see how they get themselves out of this.
Yeah.
And do 6 more seasons of this stuff, because this could very well be an ending, but we know it's not. But this could very well be like an ending. I'm really curious to see how they get out of this.
Right.
So yeah.
My last prediction is I think that they will have a date with a lovely young lady named Emmy.
Oh.
That's my prediction. I really do. These performances are out of this world. Like Hugh Dancy and Mads and Fishburne and these are some fantastic performances.
Performances are stellar.
And don't forget, Martha said they're hashtagging, what is that, Emmy al dente
Emmy
this week?
RSVP.
Emmy RSVP.
And then,
That was last
no,
week.
Now this week is Emmy
Emmy
al
al
dente.
dente.
Emmy
So
al dente,
if you're a
yes.
Fannibal and you want to support them, why don't you check out Martha De Laurentiis' Twitter page, which is Neoprod, and there might be some more information there, and we also have some more info on it from the interview with her.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for Hannibal.
Oh.
It's a great season, guys. I love you all. I'm sorry I missed the last 2 episodes. Great season.
Thanks to the fans for making us do this.
Yeah, we didn't do a tickety tiki. I forgot to do
That's
a
okay.
tickety tiki, but we love you, fans and listeners. Joe Flippo, where can we find you?
You can find me on the Twitters at Joe Flippo, JoeFlippo, and you can find me here at AfterBuzz for Mad Men with Mr. Joe Braz. You can also, if you guys check out Escape from Planet Earth, it's out on DVD. I'm one of the bad blue dudes, and there's a bunch of other goofy stuff.
But it's all good stuff.
It's all good stuff.
Good stuff.
Julia.
Find me on Twitter, guys, at Julia Cearley. It's JuliaCearley. So follow me. I'll follow you
Nando.
back.
And you can follow me at the Twitter as well, which is at Nandovel, Nandovel, and I'm on a couple other shows here.
Sure.
Yes, I am.
I'm Joe Braswell. You can find me on Twitter at Joe K. Braswell. You can also find me here in AfterBuzz with Joe Flippo doing Mad Men. We have a big finale coming up on Sunday, live finale, so check that out. And you can also find me on Grantland.com. Some cool documentaries coming out. ESPN's Grantland.com, I should say. That's all I say. Thank you, Marissa, for doing a wonderful job
Thank
for 13
you.
episodes.
Can't wait for
You
season
guys
2.
for Hannibal.
Yes. And thank you all for watching and listening, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Bye. See you later. You guys
Views
pointing?
expressed
Did
here
you
are
guys
those of
point?
the
You
host
can't.
only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.